Hi guys, it's Dan from Shore Physio, and in this video we're going to be covering glute activation or glute strengthening. So that's right, it's glute o'clock. We want to get those glute muscles fired up, get them nice and strong. We could all do with stronger glutes. This muscle is the biggest, or these group of muscles are definitely the biggest in the entire human body. They're super important. They're what we would term as our primary propulsion mechanism. So what I mean by that, whenever we walk or run or sprint or jump or squat, get up and out of a chair, climb stairs, these guys, they're the ones who are doing most of that motion. But for all of those movements, they're the ones that should be producing most of the force for those exercises, especially if we're a more active individual and you're a runner, or you do strength training at the gym and you're doing a lot of squats or lunges or deadlifts. These muscles should be doing most of the work. Unfortunately, the glutes tend to be a lazy muscle. They do have this high propensity to becoming what we term as underactive and long. Okay, so they get underactive and long, typically because certain other muscles tend to get short and overactive. They tend to get tired. So if you saw the previous video I did where we did the foam roller release and stretching for that gluteus minimus and the tensor fasciae lata muscles, so those muscles which they tilt the pelvis forward, give us that excessive curvature in the spine. They also make the knees collapse inwards. Those muscles again would inhibit those glute muscles. They would cause their muscles to shut down. And again, those signs are indicative that those glute muscles just aren't working as well as they should. So again, if you notice that you have those signs, if you're out walking or at the gym or you're out for a run or you just notice it in general, again, there's signs again that the glutes are not working. So before we do our glute strengthening, and we do have some movement restriction, and you have something like the excessive curving through the spine, that tilted pelvis, we have the knees collapsing in. Or if you notice when you're doing like a squat, for example, your torso leans forward excessively, so you're kind of collapsing forward. We want to address those first through our mobility techniques. So again, you can see the videos I've done before where we did our TFL release, we did our gluteus minimus release on the foam roller and on the ball. We then stretch those muscles. Once we've done that, once we've done those mobility exercises, we can then move on and do our strengthening exercises for the glutes, and that's going to help to again rebalance the hip joint, the knee joint, and get it back into the ideal position it is. And then we can then produce the most amount of force from those joints, keep those joints nice and stable. Or again, if you just want to get stronger glutes in general, maybe you want a bit more of a varied glute workout, or maybe before you do your squats or deadlifts in the gym and you want to get those glutes fired up a little bit more, these are definitely going to be some great exercises to do just that. And again, who doesn't want bigger glutes? We all want bigger glutes. We all want stronger glutes. Again, really important key for performance, whether again you're a gym goer or again you're just if you're an athlete or a recreational athlete, we could all do with stronger glutes. So first of all, our exercise I'm going to show you is going to be the clam. So some of these you may be familiar with, but again, I'm just going to run through them, show you a couple of little modifications that we can do as well. Okay, so with the clams, again, you see I've got these resistance bands or these fit loops. These come in all different strengths and sizes and resistances. But again, I'm going to use this red one. What I want to do is just put this just above the knees. So I'm going to put my feet through. And again, I want it just above my knees here. Okay, so I'm going to. You don't have to do this back against the wall. I just like doing it against the wall because it just makes it a little bit more specific. Just helps keep our body in the right position. Okay, so if we want to get the most out of this, I'm going to show you how ideally we should do it if we're doing the clams. So like I said, I mentioned before, that TFL muscle, again, and I did in the previous video, spoke about where we went through the release of the TFL. I said about how it just gets this very high propensity to becoming short. And again, it will try and do the work of the gluteus medius muscle, which is one of the muscles we're going to fire up, again, if this is underactive. So again, we want less TFL, more glute. So how do we do that? We're going to lay on our side, okay, up against the wall. And with my foot, my top foot, I'm going to rest my top foot on my bottom foot, but I'm just going to turn this top foot in to the floor. So my big toe is resting on the ground. So what I'm doing, I'm turning the shin bone, the tibia bone inward. And what the TFL does, it actually turns it outward. So if I turn it inward, it's just going to help to shut that TFL muscle down and get it out of the way. Okay? I'm not going to make sure I'm side bending because, again, that'll get another muscle in our spine, which we'll want to take over. I don't want that. I want to lay flat, so I don't want that QL muscle fired up. I want to lay completely flat. And again, what I'm going to do, again, I've got my knees not bent all the way up here, they're about 60 degrees, okay, so they're about halfway bent, okay, so something along those lines is fine. And all I'm going to be doing, I'm going to start to squeeze my glute. I'm going to open that top leg up, okay, and imagine I'm going to try and rip that band in half, and push that all the way, go as high as I can, keeping my back against the wall so my pelvis is nice and stabilised. I'm going to hold it for 4 seconds and I'm going to come down for 2, just halfway. So I want to keep some tension on this band. I don't want it to completely slacken. I want to keep some tension on there and I'm going to push it all the way back up. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4. Come back down halfway, push it back up, hold it, really squeeze it. Come back down. Nice and slowly, okay? So we're doing 4 seconds hold at the top, coming back down halfway. So we can change the tempo a little bit if we're working on our mobility and we're working on that hip mobility and we're trying to get that, we're trying to hold on to that new mobility, that new range of motion we've just got from doing the mobility techniques. Holding 4 seconds at the end is a good way to get strong in that new range of motion we've just got. So when we get some new range of motion from doing mobility exercises, if we don't use the new range of motion, we will lose it. So we need to get strong in it. So holding it for 4 seconds, again, just helps us get strong, get solid in that new range of motion. The other tempo we could do is if we want to work on deceleration and control, which is of that muscle, which is going to be very good if you're an athlete who does a lot of jumping, or if you're a runner and you want to work on just keeping that knee joint where it should be, work on control, work on landing mechanics. What you can do, again, is hold for 2 seconds, but then come down for 4 seconds. So just working nice and slowly, working on that control, that deceleration. Again, if that's what you're trying to do, again, if you're doing some rehab work and you want to work on absorbing force from the ground every time you land, again, if you're a runner or a jumper, or a football player or a rugby player even, we can do it there. So we can go up for 2, we can hold it for 2, we can come down for 4 seconds. Okay. So up for 2, hold for 2, down for 4. So the amount of reps we want to do is ideally between 12 and 20 repetitions. Okay. So again, we may want to start at 12 and work up to 20. If we can do 20, no problem. We're going to get a stronger band. Okay, so we can go from a medium band to a extremely strong band if you want to. What we can also do is do our sideline leg raise progression, which is going to be a little bit harder. So I can do that without the band to begin with. I can take the band off. Again, this is just going to place a little bit more load on those glute muscles. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to bend this bottom leg, I'm going to keep this top leg straight, I'm going to push the heel into the wall now. And again, this is where the wall is handy. Having the wall there behind us, again, just gives us something to push into. So again, we get those glutes working. And all I'm going to do here, again, same position, I'm going to slide that leg up the wall. I'm going to keep my leg completely straight, lock out my knee, squeeze my glute. So always say, imagine you've got a 20-pound note between your bum cheeks, don't drop it, hold on to it, come back up, keep it there, 1, 2, 3, 4, down for 2, bring it back up, we're going to hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, come back for 2. Or again, if we want to work on the acceleration, we can do for 2 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, coming down. So we can either hold for 4 at the top, or we can do 4 seconds coming down with a 2-second hold at the top. So that's our sideline leg raise. Just driving the heel into the wall, coming back down. Again, if you didn't want to mark the walls, you can also put a towel or hand towel at the back of your heel and use that, or if you've got a surface that's got quite a bit of friction, like a mirror, you could also, if you're in the gym, you could also do that as well. Okay, so that's our sideline leg raise. Again, by all means, if you want to progress that even further, you can chuck a band on above your knees and do it with that. And again, it gets super, super hard. Okay, so that's our clams and sideline leg raises, are more for a gluteus medius. We are going to get glute max as well, but they just emphasize gluteus medius a little bit more. If we want to focus a little bit more on glute max, what we're going to do is we're just going to lay on our front. Okay. We're just going to make a pillow with our hands. I'm just going to put my head down. I want my legs apart a little bit. Okay. Now, what I'm going to make sure I'm doing here is a few things, because I don't want my hamstrings taken over, because if our glutes aren't working so well, something's still got to extend our hip, and the hamstring muscles will do that because they help out with extending the hip. So whenever we push off when we're walking or running, the glutes are working, but there's a lot more work coming from there's a lot more work coming from the hamstrings than what there should be. So we don't want the hamstrings to work. I want to keep those out. I want to keep them shut down. And ideally, if we've got like that, those collapsing knees or that tilted pelvis, we would have done some hamstring release work prior to doing this exercise. So again, make sure you've done that first. Again, when we do this one, what I want to do is, again, make sure that hamstring isn't working. I'm just going to lock out that knee so it's nice and straight. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze my quad muscles. That's going to shut down the hamstrings. I'm going to make sure my spine is nice and neutral. But all I'm going to do, I'm going to just try and raise my thigh off the floor. So not a big movement, quite small, keeping that leg straight. Again, we can't actually extend our hip that far without compensating. So again, we just want to just bring that thigh off the floor, keeping the leg straight, coming back down. And again, we're squeezing our glute as we do it. Okay, so that's the glute max activation. Again, you could throw a band on that, put it above your knees. That's going to give you more resistance. Okay, so that can make it even harder. If we want to go a step further, again, we want to bring some more glute work in. We can do our hip bridge in our hip bridge modifications. So again, I'm going to throw a band on for this one. So these kind of three exercises, whether it's the clams, the prone hip extensions, which we just did, and then the bridges, work really well. Or you could do the sideline leg raise, the prone extensions, and this one. These three are really good for just getting those glutes really fired up, getting them nice and strong before we go in and do whatever we're going to do, whether it's a run or squats or deadlifts, maybe it's lower body day, or we're just about to go play football or rugby, whatever you've got to do, we want to get those glutes working. So the next one is the bridge. Okay, so the bridge I recommend, again, because we want more glute work, a little bit less hamstring work, we're actually going to slide the heels as close to your backside as you can. Okay, so that will put the hamstrings in such a shortened position where they can't do very much. Okay, I've got some tension on my band here. Okay, so I'm resisting my knees collapsing in. So again, think about, again, if you've got your knees that tend to collapse in, you have the band there, and again, it's going to switch those glutes on because we're resisting that motion. And it's going to give us a little bit more glute work. And all I'm going to do, pull my belly button in, I'm going to push my hips up off the floor, squeeze my bum real tight. Again, imagine your 20-pound note, don't drop it. Come back down. So again, we can come back up, squeeze, hold it for 4 seconds. Come back down, drive it back up, squeeze, hold it for 4 seconds. Come back down. Okay, so if we want to make this harder, I can take my hands from the floor, I can reach them up in the air, so I've got less support from the ground. That will definitely make it more challenging. Okay, so I'm squeezing my glute. Again, make sure that band is not slacking up, squeeze my glute, keep my belly button pulled in, back down. If I want to make it real challenging, what I can do is, again, I can just do a single leg hip bridge. Again, I can pull that heel in close, bring this leg up, or I could rest it on my other foot, rest this foot on my other foot. I can have my hands down, I can drive up, and just do that one side, really squeeze my legs. There's a lot more load now because I'm only doing one side. It's going to work that glute a lot more. Again, 4 seconds, down for 2. Still going to keep my band nice and strong, nice and taut. All the way back up. Or again, I could take this leg off, come back down, come back up. You can also have the hands up in the air as well, which makes it super challenging. Pushing back up, squeeze your glute real tight, come back down. Okay. So there you guys go. We've got a handful of exercises there. So we've got the clamps, so that might be a good starting point. Okay. You've then got the sideline leg raise, which is the progression from the clamps. And again, you can add the bands as well. They're wonderful. Once we've done that, again, we can then quickly transition, flip onto our front, do those prone extensions where we're just lifting the thigh off the ground. That's going to target glute max a bit more. Again, use the bands if needed. And then the bridge works really, really well. So maybe, again, if you're a beginner, start with a bridge. I would recommend a band, maybe just a light one. Just helps to keep the alignment of the thighs and the knees nice, and also gives us a little bit more glute activity. And then again, you can do it with the hands down to hands up. You can get a stronger band. You can then go to one leg and really get a nice challenging exercise with that one. And again, you can do that in a circuit. Maybe for the warm up, that's your little warm up routine after you've done your mobility exercises, and you do 2 or 3 rounds. Get those glutes super, super strong, super fired up for whatever you're going into. Again, whether it's lower body day, doing deadlifts, doing squats, doing lunges, maybe we're going for a run, or we're doing some sprint training. Or we're just gonna, go for a little bit of run around the corner, or maybe we're playing football, playing rugby, playing some sport. Again, we're always going to perform better if those glutes are fired up. So there you guys go. Hope you enjoyed that one. Again, if you've got any questions, just leave us a message in the comments section, or shoot us an email. Get in contact with us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer any questions you have. Take care of yourselves and see you soon.